Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 25th March 2017. The first article, Rediscovering Its Marathon Self. This article is written in the context of declining Congress, but we will be seeing it from the perspective of idea of India and what the modernity for our independence movement meant. So, the idea of India is unity in diversity. It means unity in diversity is not just a slogan, it has its intrinsic value. It is based on plural values, secularism, social justice, welfareism as the underlying principles. So, these principles got deeply woven into India's idea over 6 decades of our independence. But today, majoritarianism is dominating. But however, the idea of India, this magnificent, multicultural, multilinguistic, multidimensional India, cannot be just taken away by a political party or by a political ideology which is unable to handle this. So, after independence, we have taken a path of modernity. What are these objectives? Humanism, welfareism, these are the very objectives of this. So, in this context, the constitutionalism is surrounding this. So, for example, if you talk about secularism, our secularism is very much different from the Western secularism. It is based on Sarva Dharma Sambhava. It means equality among all the religions rather than separation of the state and religion from each other. So, however, there are debates about equality among all the religions. What does that mean? And second is, to protect the rights of minorities, we have given the Articles 29-30, the cultural rights under Articles 29-30. And we have the individual rights with regard to freedom of religion under Article 25. So we are unable to find an arrangement how these individual rights have to be reconciled with the cultural and minority rights of the country. So this debate is still going on in the context of India. So that's why I wrote a statement that India is still trying to find a relationship between individual rights and group rights guaranteed under our constitution. Now, Indian secularism as a value, we have to understand from the wider perspective of this idea of India and wider perspective of social justice and welfareism, because the reservations and caste-based discrimination in India, these all need to be understood. So the concepts of equality, justice, all these need to be understood from the perspective of the reform which India has undertaken. So secularism shall not be seen as an isolated phenomenon. We have to understand from the broader perspective of pluralism, inequalities, social justice concerns in the country. So from that perspective, I love to deal this article rather than an argument between Congress and BJP. And one India, two time zones. So here, you know that the Western India, the sun rises 2 hours late compared to the Eastern India. It means most of the time, the Eastern India, when the sun is when the light is there, is being spent away from the work. So, we have to bring in new time zones to raise the economic productivity of the East. So, the author demands for a separate time zone for the East. And he also says that India, our union, sees the East India and its problems only from the security dimension or self-determination movement's perspective. So that's why it considers that giving a separate time zone is inviting for a separate determination movement or self-determination movement. So, United States, if you take it, almost has 5 time zones. So the time zone is meant with economic productivity and to make the right use of the human resources and other resources like electricity. So it is the time we shall go for a time zone. So it is written in the context that recently Guwahati High Court has dismissed such a public interest litigation. Clock of invisibility. This article is about the electoral reforms. Now, in the view of budget speech, the finance minister has stated for certain electoral reforms. But how far the government is serious about them? So recently an amendment has been brought into the Companies Act. What this amendment says, as of now, Any company can give 7.5% of its net profit over 3 years as a donation to a political party. But the 7.5% ceiling is been removed. So either company is making a profit or a loss, it can give the donations to the political parties. So there are two challenges over here. The political parties will start demanding extortions from the companies. And previously there was a limit, now there is no limit, and they can demand as much they want. And then the companies can become shadow houses to root the money. So the political corruption is bound to increase. And third, the political parties and the corporate companies nexus, business politics nexus can increase. It may give rise to crony capitalism. So that these are the objections raised. So in this context, what the finance minister spoken on the eve of budget. First is, the anonymous donations can only be up to 2000 rupees cash donations, and election bonds will be released soon. But however, the formalities we do not know yet of the electoral bonds. The limiting of 20,000 to 2,000 rupees individual donations will not make much impact. So it is 10 times more slips have to be written by the political party. Terror in London. You know that lone wolf attacks are a problem across the world. And India also has this problem. Mumbai terror attacks, though they were organized from Pakistan, in a way they can be called as lone wolf attacks. But the ISIS mediated lone wolf attacks is using nationals of a particular country as the weapons. These are radicalized through internet. So here, the internet propaganda or propaganda news will be placed on the internet. But the individuals get self-radicalized by going through this. So, either you talk about Brussels, either you talk about France, now UK, all these lone wolf attacks need to be handled. But handling them is most difficult because they are attacking with the daily use items and they were never on the radar of the government. If they are using any of the modern communication technologies, they can be brought under the radar of the government through interception and surveillance. But however, as they are being self-radicalized, as they are the nationals of a given country, it is becoming very difficult. And the second is, way forward, we have to strengthen the human intelligence rather than the machine intelligence on these. And police-community relations shall become stronger so that the people will report to the police of any suspicious activity. But one care has to be taken here. If the far right shows these attacks as a reason to alienate the Muslims, probably it is playing into the hands of the Islamic State. We are strengthening the argument of the Islamic State. So that need to be guarded against. So the more inclusive society, better inclusive society is an answer rather than widening the fault lines across the communities in the society. Now let's take to the news page. Now here, Center seeks banks turnaround plans. We need to recollect after quality asset review program or asset quality review program of RBI during Raghuram Rajan, most of the public sector banks have reported losses. So in this case, the government has launched an Indradhanush program where it is infusing 70,000 crore rupees of capital. So the government of India now wants a revival plan or a turnaround plan for the public sector banks. That is what is the news which has to be covered over here. Airlines bars Sena MP from flights. Here, let us see how to deal with the unruly passengers. In this case, across the West, there is no fly list. It means whom the companies or whom the airlines are not intended to fly. So that no fly list also have to be developed in India. That's what the people talk about. Now coming to Ramasetu. So Indian Council of Historical Research by Y. Sudarshan Rao, its chairman, they are going to conduct a ocean archaeology research on Ramasetu. So there are many issues contended on Ramasetu. Is it man-made or natural? So it has been claimed that the Ramasetu is natural by the geologists. But the Hindu right, they claim it as a man-made built by Rama. So Setu Samudram project, it is a transshipment project where the Ramasetu is being dredged so that There will be a free movement of the ships across the east and west corridors of India is being opposed by the right wing. The major reason is this religious belief. And it is also opposed by environmentalists because in the Gulf of Mannar there are many coral reefs and other, it's a rich biodiversity region, I can put it that way. And invest in education, Pranab tells Bihar. You know that education breaks the intergenerational poverty. Education is an enabler, it will empower the people. Remember those words with regard to education. Environmental officials to chair Animal Welfare Board. So, Animal Welfare Board is under Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change. So, in the Jallikattu movement, in the Jallikattu issue, Animal Welfare Board of India, it has filed a case against this Jallikattu and it argued that the Jallikattu need to be stopped. And after that, the ordinance has come up, center agreed for the same. So, the government of India wants to bring in Animal Welfare Board under its control. As till date, it has been managed by an independent person or an outsider to the government. So now government wants to appoint its own official to the Animal Welfare Board of India. Previously, there was a question in prelims where this is located, under which ministry it is. Now, Aadhaar now needed for mobile connection. So previously we had a discussion, Aadhaar, how is it connected to our right to privacy. So now, after the Aadhaar Act is been passed, the government wants to link Aadhaar to everything. So government wants to build a big data surrounding Aadhaar. So government is asking it for the voter with regard to the filing of income tax returns and in the applications related to PAN number. And today it is asking it for mobile connection. It means almost 30 plus services are going to come under the government radar to provide for requesting for Aadhaar. Now, I have given the notes and these notes will be available to you at laex.in/civils-prep. And then we have released the third edition of LAEX Weekly. You can, today I think Sandeep sir will make a video on that. Please go through that LAEX Weekly. And it will be available at Image Runners in Delhi, Vikas Bookstore in case of Hyderabad. So Image Runners, Vikas Bookstore, these two places it will be available. And soon we will make it available to you online. So we are going to charge some 5 rupees to it, or a minimal price of it, which is going to cost us the printing cost and also the preparation cost. So thank you very much and all the best.